it's really how the man sees himself and like what he exudes, right? And that's like a big umbrella statement for kind of everything. That's like status, intelligence, leadership. That's like everything kind of coming into one. That's what I feel like women are drawn to. It's like how the man views himself. If he views himself as high status, if he views himself as comfortable in his own skin, as he views himself as I can say anything that I want, if he views himself as I can get any woman that I want, like those things are very attractive. It's kind of men who don't give a shit. That's actually the better way to say it. That's what we find attractive.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Sam Dever Podcast, episode 143. In this episode, I speak with Marni Kinrys. This was a phenomenal conversation. I cannot wait for you to check it out. To watch this episode, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@thesamdeverpodcast. To listen to this podcast, be sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And to check out our sponsor, Produce Your Passion, be sure to go to produceyourpassion.com. Here's my conversation with Marni. All right, Marni Kinrys, welcome to the Sam Dever Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you for not having me drive an hour and a half to Hollywood.
For those that don't, no problem whatsoever. I mean, because it's, for those that don't live in LA, they're like, oh, you only live 3, 4, 5 miles away from a person. I'm like, no, that's actually quite far.
Oh, that's the whole thing. It's crazy because I searched it at different times and it was different every single time and it just kept increasing. I was like, oh God, this is going to be ridiculous. Yeah.
Relating,
you don't live actually that far.
Yeah. No, not far at all. And relating to dating, when I first moved out here, I was living in Sherman Oaks and a girl I was seeing, and the funny part is that we actually clicked really, really well. Like we actually got along really well. And she lived in Culver City. I lived in Sherman Oaks.
That's a long distance relationship. No way.
Yeah, it's just, and I actually told a couple of people, like, well, you guys didn't try to, Mike, no, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. You're never going to see. I was in Santa Monica when I first met my husband and he was in Venice and I was at the tippy top of Santa Monica and he was deep in Venice and it would take me like 40 minutes to get to him.
Oh, wow.
And I really liked him. So I was open to doing that drive, but if I lived any further or he lived any further, I'd be like, I'm sorry, you're out. I'd rather date somebody. I'm from Toronto. I'd rather date somebody in Toronto. That's if I'm going to do long distance. Like that makes more sense for me. Yeah, it's just so far.
Yeah. So for those that don't live, they won't understand. For those that live here, will totally get it. So
totally.
And another thing I have to know, when we connected, something in the back of my mind, it was like, man, I really feel like I've met Marni before. And then I realized, like, oh my God, when I started checking out your content, like I was totally binging your videos.
Oh, I was like, have we met before?
Oh, maybe we have, but I was binging your content during the pandemic.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. And I remember when I was watching it, I go, this is actually really genius because of course I would want to know. It reminded me kind of like the Mel Gibson movie, like whatever it was, where he was able to think like a woman.
Yeah, what women want.
Yeah. So you giving the perspective of like, no, guys, this is actually what women are thinking. This is how we respond to this. So that being said, I'm honored to have you here. I'm really excited for this. For those that aren't as familiar with your work, could you just give us a little bit on your background and what it is you do?
Yeah, I'm a wing girl and I coach men, teach men, advise men, give men the female perspective on what women want. And I show them how to be the most attractive version of themselves. That's the short way of explaining it. But really what I'm doing is I'm giving them tips, tools, and techniques for attracting the women that they're attracted to.
Yeah, and you've been doing it, for a couple decades now, right?
Oh God, I know. I'm so freaking old. Yes, I've been doing it for 21 years, which is crazy.
Experienced.
Yes. I like how that's one of my tools is reframing. So yes, I have to reframe it that way. Yeah. I've been doing it for 21 years. And I was the first woman to be welcomed into this world of giving advice to men. So I'm very honored to be the first woman in this sphere of men's dating advice.
And I know you've talked about this on other podcasts, but maybe for the audience too, could you briefly touch on like that moment that you decided to go this route
Oh
that
God,
this
I
world
didn't
opened to you?
decide. It just sort of happened. I made a joke at a singles mixer at a rabbi's house, and like nobody was talking to each other. So I started going up to guys and saying like, "Go and talk to that girl. She's so cute. She's looking over at you." And they're like, "I don't know what to say." And I was like, "Well, I'll tell you what to say, and I'll go over there with you." So then I would tell them what to say, tell them how to stand, and then we'd go over and talk to the girl. And then when they were doing well, I would back away and let them be on their own, and then I would go do it for somebody else. And by the end of the night, people were mixing. There were two people that I guess introduced, we'll call it, who were making out in the corner at the rabbi's house. So I was very proud of that one. And I went home and I explained it to my roommate, and I was like, I really want to be a wing girl. And he's like, what's that? I'm like, it's like a wing man, but a girl, like a girl who's on your side to help you get girls. I've been doing that naturally for most of my life. I think I can make it a job. I really loved what I did tonight. And he's like, no, guys don't care to hear from women about what women want because you guys don't know what women want. No man is ever going to want your advice, which was like a blessing in disguise that he disagreed with me because I love the word no. It makes me fired up. So I marched into my room. I posted an ad on Craigslist at like 12:30 at night, whatever it was. By the next morning, I had over 75 guys who had responded to me saying, what's a wing girl? I want a wing girl. Can you be my wing girl? And I was like, okay. I'll be your wing girl. And then I just started. And then slowly over time, it shifted from me doing in person pickup with men to discovering the pickup artist community, which was the first community that was available for male dating advice, because back then people didn't think men needed dating advice, so they had to keep it very under wraps. And then I quickly learned about internet marketing and about content creation, and then it just grew from there. So now this is what I've been doing for the past 20 years, where I'm providing advice, guidance, tips, techniques, tools, female perspective, and feedback to hundreds of thousands of men all over the world.
I have to go back. That's really cool. It initially started you actually going out with them as a
Oh
wing girl
yeah.
in person. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was so fun. But then now I look back on it, I'm like, that was kind of dangerous, actually. I met these
Yeah.
guys I met these guys on Craigslist. They paid me cash. It was me and my friend, and we would meet them at weird locations. And then it was kind of odd. I remember I met my husband around that time too, and he's like, wait, so what do you do? You're an escort? And I was like, no, that's not at all what it is. And he wanted to come with me because he was so nervous about these men that I was meeting. Right. And like the thing is, most of these men, they didn't know how to interact with women. So they weren't going to do anything to me. I was in the most safest position possible. So it was interesting. Like most of these guys, when I would end up going out with them, they weren't like these player guys who were like, yeah, go get her, get her. They ended up being these unbelievable men who just didn't know certain things about how women thought, what they wanted, how they felt. And that scared them off from being the men that they really are and want to be. And that's what I ended up working on with them, was giving them the confidence, giving them the understanding that women want them to approach them. You're not being rude or disrespectful if you go and you approach women and you offer up yourself in a great way. So when I started learning that and seeing that side of men, which I had never seen before, that's when I started my content creation. That's when I started my program creation, because I realized that these men needed more of a base to understand themselves, understand attraction, understand women. And then they didn't need me to go pick up women. They could go do it on themselves.
So it's almost like training wheels.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
kind
I
of
am their training wheels for sure.
and as you're talking and I'm reflecting uh, from my friends' experiences or personal experiences, and I want to get your take. Is a majority of the hardest part for a lot of guys that simple opener? Like
Yeah.
that simple going up and saying hi, because I feel once, like that's what's great about a wing girl is that's what they do. They go,
Yeah.
hey, you should talk to my friend Greg. Here he is.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
once they get in it, a lot of them are fine, but it's that initial approach.
Yeah,
Like
because it's
actually,
freaking scary. It is
yeah,
tough to go up to a complete stranger who gives you a hard on, you're super excited for, and like you're attracted to. That's very uncomfortable. It is. That's the interesting thing. I got to see this totally different side of what men have to experience. That we're all like, yeah, that should be so easy. You're a guy, you should know how to do it. That's how I thought about it in my head before I started doing this. But it's really intimidating. It's scary. Women are not very receptive. They're rude. They make it 10 times more challenging than it needs to be. So it is a very difficult thing to do. So that is one of the first hurdles. The second hurdle is, okay, now I've approached. Now my brain is freezing and I have no freaking clue what to say after this to make it go in the direction that I wanted to go. So those are the two biggest challenges for guys.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Superbad, but
Oh yeah.
I always go to that McLovin clip where he says hi to her in the hallway and she's like, yeah, or whatever. And he's like, it's whatever o'clock. And he like runs. That's what it
He's being
reminded
bold.
me of.
Exactly. Yeah, but he did one of the hardest parts. He went up to her,
Yeah.
but then he approached and ejected. Like that's one of the first exercises that we teach to guys. It's like getting over that hurdle of approach anxiety and then eject right afterwards, right? So it makes you look more high value because you just get out of there after you approach, but also it gives you time to calm your nervous system down and really start to hone and own that first stage of interacting with a woman, which is approaching, and seeing that as a success. Once that can calm down, then you can get to that next stage of holding and having a conversation with women.
So what would be a good example of just a nice, simple approach? If someone's just like, hey, I just want to get over this fear. What would be something from a
A nice,
woman's point of
simple
view?
approach would,
Yeah.
honestly, just be, well, actually, I'm going to take a step back. I have these things called the approach ladder. It's part of my inner circle coaching program. And there's 4 steps in the approach ladder, which are the steps that I did to get over my approach anxiety when I was younger. So these are like really baby steps for approaching people. Okay. So the first step is simply just going up to 20 people and saying hi. And that's it. And then anything after that is a bonus, right? The success is just saying hi. And so I'll tell you my own version of this. But when I had extreme approach anxiety, I gave myself this assignment when I was in Auckland, New Zealand, because I was with my best friend who was very outgoing, could talk to anybody, walked into a room, had best friends 3 minutes later. And I didn't understand how she did this. And I wanted to learn how to be comfortable like her. So what I did was I gave myself the assignment to go and approach 20 people every single day on the streets of New Zealand, complete strangers. I was a 19-year-old cute girl, and it took me about 2.5 hours to do this because I was freaked out. It was so uncomfortable for me. And I did it many days in a row until it was like 10 minutes and done. And the only reason it took me 10 minutes to do it at the very end was because I couldn't find people to approach. Like it became so automated, so comfortable, and so natural. The next step after that was just to ask them a question. Where's the bus? What time is it? Like these are simple things just to get over approach anxiety. And you go up these steps in the approach ladder until you get up to the very top, doing these little itty bitty steps to get over approach anxiety. And then once you get to a really great place of comfort where you can just approach anybody that looks interesting to you with a little bit of nerves, but still do it successfully, then you can use something like OSA, which is my method for starting conversation, which is observe, share, and ask. So that you start a conversation, cutting out the first 5 minutes of fluff that kind of have people put their guards up, especially women. So you talk to somebody as if you already know them. You make an observation. Oh, these streets are really dirty here. It's disgusting, right? That's an observation. You share about why that was important to you or why you're even making that statement. Oh, I'm from Toronto. The streets in Toronto are so clean. It's crazy how dirty these streets are here. Then ask a question. Are you from here? Where are you from? You open it up with a question. And that gives time for that person to give you a response that's longer than a one-word response and lets you collect information from them that you can then build a conversation from. So that's my method for interacting with people once you get to a very comfortable level of approaching people.
And no, I love that. And as we were talking before we got on here, I mean, like a lot of this stuff applies beyond romantic, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
that's just if you want to be personable and talk to people of all
yeah,
kinds in business
absolutely.
and networking, anything.
Absolutely. Listen, at the end of the day, if you can share your opinion, speak with authority, carry a conversation, that's going to put you in a position of high value in most situations that you're in. But how it pertains to women and the thing about why this works so well with women is because women get really frustrated with men who only speak in data points. They really like when men have something to share, express their opinions, and ask really good questions. So for women, this is actually a very attractive way of starting a conversation because it allows women to see who this man is that's in front of them. So, starting a conversation with Osa where you observe something that is interesting to you, you share something about why it's interesting to you. So, you're giving that deeper level of who you are and how you think. And then, when the man is able to open up the conversation and bring the woman into the conversation, that feels really enjoyable to a woman because it's a conversation that she wants to be a part of.
Okay, awesome. And when you say data points, what do you mean by that?
That dog is big. This game is fun. Like men speak in like, let's not call it data points, but like it's not, and I don't want to insult men by saying you only talk very surface level conversations stations, but many men and many of the men that I work with, they only exchange facts, right? There isn't really much of themselves in the things that they say. But when you talk to women, women talk about their feelings. They talk about things below the surface. And I'm not saying for men to become super emotional and gushy and only talk about their feelings all the time. But you have to understand that women respond to feelings. And if they can feel you, then they can feel something about you. If they can't feel you and get to know you and see who you are as a man, then they can't feel anything about you. And even if the things that you're expressing are, I'm funny and I know how to tease, or I'm flirty and see you as a sexual option, if those are the things that you're expressing with your words, those are something that women can feel, react, and respond to. And that's where you get chemistry to be created from. If you're just exchanging data points, and
Uh,
you can't really like latch on to somebody and feel something about them. Does that make sense?
yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And actually it's funny as we're talking, all these past YouTube videos and books I've read, like everything's like bubbling up. What's your take? Because I've heard both camps on this one. Some say you should never go up to a woman and say, "Oh, you're so beautiful. I had to come say hi." But then other camps have said, "Well, no, you're just being honest. They might have." What's your take on that approach? Like,
I mean,
you,
I'm totally fine with direct openers. I think it's fine to say that, but you have to have something to follow up with afterwards, right? So it's great as you're beautiful. I had to just come say hi. If you leave it afterwards for her to then carry on the conversation, then you've done what about 30 other guys before you have done. You've complimented her on something that she already knows, but then add no value afterwards. So you have to bring value afterwards to show that it, there's something more to you that she can latch onto. But again, I'm a big fan of direct openers. I saw you over there. I liked your energy. I wanted to come say hi and see what you're all about. Like, my name's Sam.
yeah.
What's going on here? What are you and your friends doing? What can I become a part of? And what can I tell you about? It's like it's that you have to be able to carry on the conversation afterwards and add value.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious to get your take because, it was around early 2000 when you were doing this. And now we're to whatever age we're in now, crazy social media AI time.
Yes, exactly. This is not
But
really me. That's why I'm not in studio with
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I wish
Um,
one day it'll
one
happen.
day for part two, you'll see us. But and we don't have to go too much into this, but I again catching some stuff you've said on some other things. Has much changed with the technology as far as the approach techniques and whatnot, or is it pretty much all the same and the technology are just tools we use?
It's so weird because people always ask me this question, and I'm not a scientist, right? I'm not like, these things have changed in the past. Listen, the modalities that we use are totally different. 100%. Like people who have been married and then have come out now and are like, everything's changed and there's texting and online dating. That part of it has changed. But at the core of what I'm helping guys with, which is expressing themselves, communicating, learning to take risks, being leaders, those things are all the same. Setting boundaries in place, like all of those things are still the same. And if you learn how to do those things, you can express them in every avenue that you have access to. Yes, you're going to be ghosted by more women now because you're able to date more women and you're able to talk to more women in a short period of time because of online dating. But was that not happening 20 years ago? Of course it was happening 20 years ago. People were blowing you off and then they didn't have a cell phone that you could call them on. So then they literally just disappeared. So I don't I don't really know if it actually has changed that much in terms of the stuff that I work on with men. But the landscape has changed and the way that people interact has changed and the anxiety levels have changed because people are having way more of these experiences way more often. That's as much science that I can give you. But from my perspective as a coach, I'm still answering the same questions. I am still providing the same advice. I am still hearing the same concerns and the same frustrations. So, in that sense, nothing has changed.
It's actually reassuring, human biology is human biology.
Yeah, it
It's
really is. Like, even one of the first books that I read on this topic, which was The Evolution of Desire. Is that what it was called?
Hmm.
By David Buss.
Oh, evolutionary psychology.
Yes, but yeah,
Yeah.
but it was called The Evolution of Desire, which was his
Oh,
book, but he does evolutionary psychology.
okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
But he had done this study where I'm going to totally misquote this, but he went around to like all of these different civilizations. So he went to tribes in Africa and he went to New York and he would interview people from all over about attraction, women about attraction, what attracts you, and there was like obviously a set of questions that he was giving to them. And he came up with this set of answers that was basically saying attraction is universal no matter where you are. There's different things and different nuances that come into play depending on the space that you're living in. But at the core, attraction is these same, and I forget what it is. Is it 9 pillars or 12 pillars, whatever it was? And I believe that all of those pillars are still true today.
No, it's very interesting. Yeah, I read his evolutionary psychology book, and I swear I haven't looked at the world the same ever since.
Oh,
Because
amazing.
you realize, like, yeah, there's just certain patterns that are what they are.
Yeah.
And certain behaviors we're always going to have. So this leads me into the next segment I wanted to talk about. What let's focus maybe on men in general,
Okay.
because you deal with a lot of men that are coming for help. Uh, what are the number one obstacles or issues they're dealing with, or things that are holding them back that you see? Is it confidence? Is it
Yeah,
mental
it's
health?
just
Is it
belief in themselves. There's a portion of mental health, but it's really just their mindset. It's the way that they're looking at things. They're trying to not give themselves opportunity. They're afraid to take risks, and they convince themselves that what they're trying to achieve is not doable or that they're not worthy of those opportunities. They can't list 10 great things about themselves. I can list 5 in the first 5 minutes of meeting them based on the fact that they've signed up for my programs. I can tell them like 5 amazing things about them. So a lot of these guys, it's not mental health issues. It is confidence, it's mindset, and it's the way that they see themselves. They have when they come into us, when it comes to women specifically, this is not every area of their life, they have a lower self value because they haven't had great experiences with women. So they deem themselves unvaluable in this space when they're extremely valuable. And the men that come to me, I really believe are in the top percent of men in the world, the top tier of men. They're men who are brave enough to seek advice and guidance on how to fix something that isn't working. That is complete strength and braveness. Like most men, most people don't do that, right? And they're getting advice from a woman. That's an even bigger step to show like how absolutely amazing they are. So these men just need little tweaks in the way that they see themselves. And then most of them are on fire pretty much 3 weeks later with women.
That's awesome. And then with what you do, is it more, hey, we're going to get you going, get you in the game, and then once you get these skills, go fly? Or do you have guys that will say, no, I need help more deeper into the
It's both.
relationship? It's
It's
both.
everything. We even have guys who are married. So we have a program called Be Her Hero. We have a program called the Circle Coaching Program, which is our coaching program. And there are some guys who go through the Inner Circle curriculum because they're single or they're divorced back in the game. They need to go through and learn the basics, rebuild themselves as masculine leading men and rediscovering who they are and gaining that self-value. And then we have men who come to us who are in relationships or who have been married. And we put them into this program called Be Her Hero, which is about resparking and reigniting that attraction between themselves and their partners.
I'm really glad you said that, because this is actually a topic I didn't even expect us to bring up. But the honeymoon phase,
Yeah.
it's real. And once it's gone, it's gone. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. I had a girl tell me something. This is actually before I jumped into my current relationship, because I was playing that game of, oh, it has to be perfect, and oh, there was like one thing off about this, must not be right. And I'll never forget, she told me this. She said, the only way you get good at relationships is being in relationships.
Yeah.
And she just stopped. And I go, wow, that she's right.
Yeah.
So in relationships, I think, I don't know if it was Disney when I was growing up, or the fantasy that gets painted. Oh, you
Well, most
connect,
of the
and
visuals
yeah,
that we see of relationships are either our parents
right.
or movies that end after they fall in love. So you don't know what happens afterwards. Like, 3 months later in any Disney
It's
movie,
true.
Ariel's like, "Ugh, get out of the freaking bathroom and pay some attention to me. I'll sing you that song again." And the prince is like, "Oh, you're such an egg." They all become human afterwards. Everybody becomes human, right? Some couples I know, though, actually don't become human. I have this one friend who has never like farted in front of her partner after
Oh, wow.
20 years, has never let her see her partner go to the has never let her partner see her go to the bathroom, doesn't do many things in front, like that's her belief system. And actually, they have a very strong attraction towards each other. I have a different perspective on marriage. Mine's like, let's see everything, do everything, say everything. And then that becomes very nice best friends who once in a while happen to be really attracted to each other when we go out and we see each other being our young, outgoing versions of ourselves. Right. And that's a marriage that I like and I want. I don't need like this hot passion because I don't know anything about my husband at all and don't say anything to my husband. You just have to decide which relationship that you want.
Yeah, you're right. There is two sides to that coin. There is the side that keep it there, but yeah, I'm of your camp. It's like, hey, let's just get this out of the way. Like, let's just,
Yeah. Yeah, but the truth is that it does, the honeymoon phase is over. It's the excitement's over. It's not new anymore. But the good thing is like I still get jealous if I see my husband talking to another woman. I get jealous when he talks about other women at work. Like that makes me a little jealous. I don't want him to be around other women. So it isn't like, okay, go like flirt with her. I don't care. It's there still is that little ping, which I think is really nice and healthy.
so what are some ways, or maybe maybe an example of people you've worked with, to help them keep the spark going? Or is it just making the effort to like, hey, we're gonna have date night once a week, or
Well, most
having,
of the guys that come to us, their wives hate them. Like they're at the
oh
point
wow,
where there's so much tension because the wives have felt so unheard for many years. And I'm taking away the man's side of this because of course there's always two sides and like he's felt abandoned as well and emasculated. I completely get that, right? But for the purpose of what we're talking about, the men come to us, their wives hate them. There's so much tension. She's not just bitchy to him. She's just completely cold and shut down and snapping at him all the time and will do anything to emasculate him and hurt his feelings. Like that's the stage that
wow,
they're in, which happens in many relationships. And so we teach men about how to get her back to warm, right? Through communication, through validation, through seeing the woman in front of them that is actually not a nagging bitch who cannot calm down. She's a sad and lowly woman who's desperate for connection and affection. So we help them see that this woman isn't really so evil and horrible. She just really hurt. And when they can see that side of their wives again as humans, as partners, as people, then things can start to heal and they can become compassionate and empathetic. And then we teach them the tools about how to communicate with their wives, validate their wives' emotions, talk to their wives, be there for their wife, and create safety. And when that safety is there consistently, then the wife can open back up and then they can start flirting and having fun. And she's going to want intimacy again. But she has to get back to that square one first in order to be in that space.
okay. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, the divorce rate is what it is in
Yeah,
the United States, and I'm sure a lot of what you speak of is the reason for that. And do you think some of it too is some people just didn't marry the right person, like they didn't
I'm
think it
sure.
through? And I
Yeah,
guess,
but some people married somebody who they really were in love with at one point, and people shift and change. But I also, I really, I The more that I experience this myself, the more I see how common, like what I just described to you, is in relationships. And not because people are bad, it's because we literally are different people. We are built very differently. We have different needs. I've experienced this with my husband as well. I've had many months in our marriage where I have been cold, angry, bitter, wanting to like literally emasculate him at every turn because I was feeling so defeminized because of his lack of desire, his lack of connection, his lack of attention. And I had the ability to explain these things to him, and it still wasn't happening. And we took this course called Safe Conversations, and we learned about how to communicate better, or he learned how to communicate better. I mean, this is the space that I'm in, so I kind of knew this already, but most women do not. And we learned how to express these things to each other, but more importantly, we learned how to listen to each other and validate each other's emotions. And that has really helped a lot in our relationship. And from there, we can we can grow and heal and rebuild on our relationship.
Awesome. So communication is key.
It really is key, but it's not just like talking and expressing yourself. Like communication means listening appropriately, listening correctly,
Mm.
validating the other person's opinion, feelings, not putting them down in any way, seeing the other person, communicating even when it's hard. Like communication doesn't just mean we talk. It means many, many things. And that's what becomes really difficult for a lot of people. You get triggered very easily by your partners. And it's easy to fight about fighting rather than talk through what's really going on, and remembering that you're both people who are good people and not trying to hurt the other person. You're both just hurt people who need to feel safe and loved and appreciated.
It really does. It brings more weight to the wedding vows, like when you really start to think about it, like when they're saying for better or for worse
Yeah.
in health and in sickness, because it's not this magic fairy tale. I that was hilarious what you said about the Little Mermaid post
Yeah.
movie, that because it's true. It just doesn't. And I think especially one thing with technology or social media, rather, everyone's just showing the good of everything, or the fantasy of everything, as opposed to the actual realities of this
Yeah.
stuff.
But listen, even if those are blips of reality for a moment, they're wonderful things that people put onto social media. Like I would never be able to put out there things that people put out there where they're like, oh, my wife is this person, my husband is this person. I'm just not flowery like that. I don't speak like that. But I've had moments where I'm like, oh, why don't I say these things about my husband? Then I have to get back to the reality of like, who am I? Do I ever say things like that about anybody? No, I would never and have never, that is not how I'm built, and not what I do. Right. So social media can plant these ideas in your head of what you think you should be doing, but hopefully people can recognize who they are and what they're capable of, and that can bring them back down to reality.
Okay. And I wanted to shift a little bit back to the initial dating scene. And you're the perfect person to ask this to, because this is something I've been pondering for a while, and I've heard other people give takes, but I feel, and I don't know if it's due to social media or online dating per se, but I feel we have a lot of information out there now. A lot of people have different opinions, and from both sides, both men and women, there seems, or at least I've witnessed, and I've fell victim to it too, of I have so many options. There's so many things available to me in the world that they think that there's going to be like this perfect quote unquote match that checks every box, flawless. So you kind of find people in stalemates, if you will. Like you find people that might be really good together and could have a really great relationship, but both of them are holding back because one box didn't get checked off. And I go into my Bumble or my Hinge account. Well, we live in Los Angeles. It's an unlimited supply. I'm sure I'll find the perfect one there. Have you run into that at all? Or do you have a take on that at all? Do you think that's an issue?
I don't really think that I've run into that at all as like an issue that guys have that I work with, but I can see how that can happen because you have like this candy store of online dating where you're like, oh, I could have this, I could have this, I forget. But I also realize like once you start using it very often, you're like, it's really not easy to find somebody to actually go on dates with. But I can see that be very paralyzing for some people because I mean, even when you didn't have online dating, if you weren't completely ready to jump into a relationship with someone or you didn't feel everything you wanted to feel, your eyes were still kind of open even without the online dating option. I think yes, it adds an extra layer of oh, this they're so accessible and like all these guys are hitting me up, but I mean, you could do the same thing if you went out to a bar while you were dating somebody. I do think, and I just maybe have never experienced what you're talking about before, but like when I really like somebody, I'm very into them. Do I think about other people sometimes? Yeah, I'm like, oh, maybe I could date this other person. Like my head goes sometimes to that place, but usually it goes back to that person that I really like. And I think when you are with somebody that you really enjoy and really like, you tend to always go back to them. But I understand how some people would have difficulty if they think that they're supposed to have every box checked. Yeah, that can be paralyzing to a point where they're not ready to commit. But I think they have to reevaluate the boxes that they're checking because some people have this laundry list of things that they need and want that are ridiculous. I remember this one client of mine was like, "Oh, that woman doesn't play tennis. My ex-wife didn't play tennis, and that caused a lot of arguments for us." And I was like, "Well, let's like look into this a little bit more. Like, what if you just had tennis friends, but this other woman who you really enjoyed everything else about her, how you felt around her, how she made you feel, how she cared for you, like all your values aligned. Did it matter if she played tennis with you?" He's like, "Oh, I guess it didn't really matter if I played tennis." Like you have to like really look into why you're picking these boxes and whether or not they're really important to you.
I'm really glad you said that because yeah, I think I can articulate a little further. Maybe a woman will say the guy has to be 6'3", he has to make 250,000 a year, blah 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 blah, and the guy's like, yeah, she needs to look like this, exactly like this. It's like you said, like the candy store, create your own match, if you will. So
Yeah.
that type of thing, and just the expectation. I'm all for having standards for yourself and expectations, but then there's also reality too with that. And I think just a lot of people may
I
actually have a
think
good experience.
yeah, I think online like everybody I guess everybody does this in reality as well. Like you try to date your ideal. So I was away with my two girlfriends and they were both going online because they're well, one of them was recently divorced and one of them was dating somebody but was still had her eyes open and they were going through guys. And I kept looking at the guys that they were interacting with. I was like, this is not who you date. These are not guys that you would date in real life. Like both of your ex-husband, your boyfriend, were not like this. It was just like a different category of guy. It's like they only went after their ideals online versus guys that they actually know that they connect with. So they were just it's like you have these weird lenses on when you're online. Sometimes you think you're hotter than you are. Like I don't even know, but it's just like you go after these people who just you would never really date in real life. So as soon as you can get your lenses clean and you start to date the people that actually would connect with you, I think like that's when online dating becomes difficult when you're just dating these ideals versus people you would actually want to partner up with.
So what's a good way for people to find out who they're good for, or finding out what is their type? Is it just trying to go on as
They
many dates as
date.
fun,
You just
just date as
date.
many as
You date with
possible?
yeah, you date people and you're like, "Oh, you know what I really like? I like people who I feel comfortable around to be myself." Right? So that's a criteria for you, right? If you're putting yourself out there and that person isn't accepting of it, that's not something you're comfortable putting yourself out around. So then the next person that you date, after you date somebody who that wasn't a reality, if you feel that way around somebody, that can check a box. Oh my God, I feel really comfortable being me and saying my opinions. That's amazing. You have to like date to see what you like and what you don't like. I like people who are super goofy. I like people who like going to music events. Like if music is a really big thing in your life that and you want to share those experiences with somebody, that is something that goes onto your list. I like people who get my sense of humor and who understand that making fun of people is like a delicacy, right? Like it's like a wonderful thing instead of an insulting thing. And you test the waters where you put that behavior out there on a date and you see how people respond. If they're on the same page as you, you're like, these are my people. If they're like, oh, that was kind of rude, you're like, we're never going to see eye to eye or date. It's just like you test the waters and see what works.
So now I need to know what's your take on the follow up after a first date? Because I've experienced this. I've heard
Yeah.
stories on it. Uh, oh no, you have to wait 3 days, or oh no, you can't
No,
text them at
not in
this.
the age of texting. I think you can do it like literally as she's walking away. You do some sort of callback to the date where you said hey, banana breath or something, whatever something that you've joked about on your date. He said, had a great night tonight. Amazing getting to know you. I'd love to take you out again next week. My week is slammed. I'll follow up on Tuesday. So, I think you can set your pace and set the standards right after a date is over. You don't need to wait 3 days. And I don't think there's no reason to wait 3 days unless you don't like that person.
Yeah, because I mean that again, it gets thrown around the internet. It's like, oh, you got to establish your position, and if you try to contact them too soon, you're too needy.
No,
Uh,
it's about how you do something, not about when you do it. I think that
mm,
there's a lot of people who are super busy and they want to clear things off of their plate. So they're like, you know what? I like that girl. I think she's super cute. We had a great connection, a great vibe. And if she's not into me, I want to know as soon as possible. So I'm going to follow up right away. And then you're going to establish your boundaries by saying, had a great time, do some sort of callback to the date. Love to see you again. What are you doing on X? If she says she's free, say, great, my week is slammed. I'll follow up with you on Thursday, which means I have a busy week for myself. I'm not going to get in contact with you until Thursday, and then I'll follow up with you. That's a better way to establish that you're a man of value than waiting 3 days to contact her. That's just like, screwing around with people. And I don't like that.
okay, good. And then I wondered, I was another topic that uh, I was looking around that people talk about is the whole nice guy complex.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, how much truth is there? Do women like nice guys? Do they really want the bad boy down beneath? Like, have you
They
dealt
want
with
both.
that?
They want both of them. And the only reason that Bad Boy is so appealing to them is because he's unpredictable and he takes risks and he speaks his mind and does what he wants to do. That's a man with an edge. That's a man who values himself. That's the man who doesn't bend over backwards to please and please a woman that he doesn't really have any strong connection to. So that's what is appealing about a bad boy, not a person who treats them like crap and who doesn't do what he says. Women still like men that stick to their word. They like guys who are kind and they like guys who are nice as well. They don't like wimps. They don't like pussies. They don't like guys who are afraid of them. And they don't like guys who are afraid to take any risks and put their real selves out there. So, nice guy is the nice way of saying you are not pushing my attraction buttons. And I find you wimpy and unattractive. That is the nice way to say that what I just said. So women do like men who are kind and they like men who do nice things, but they also like men who have backbones, stand up for themselves, have boundaries, have clear values of their own, have strong opinions, and who can lead and not just be huge pushovers.
Okay. Yeah, I had a woman, I went on a date once. Uh, I gotta think how she worded it to me. It went really well. At least I thought it did. um, very cordial, but I guess what I'm trying to, this kind of leans
Well,
into the whole
anytime you
friend.
describe a date as cordial, that's not a date going well.
Yeah, it's friend zone.
Right.
I guess that would be the pro. I guess
No,
now we're
cordial is unsexy. It's unsexy, which means that nothing sexual happened on the date.
correct. Yeah, we did
Yeah.
get frozen yogurt afterwards, and
There
I
you go.
thought
That's
like,
great. I get frozen yogurt with my 8-year-old as well. Non-sexual.
So she said, I want to revisit that because we need to talk friend zone, but she said something I never forgot. Because I think she was alluding to that we weren't going to be meeting again, but she wanted to leave me with like some advice. And she said,
Oh,
she said, she shared with me her opinion with online dating, even though we were on an online date. She said there's no chase with it. We kind of just set up, we meet, boom, we're there. She said that there's a psychology behind like being out in the wild and like you approaching and the unexpected, if you will, and them being caught off guard. So I'm sharing that because I just thought that was interesting. But
it is interesting, but like that is so moments like that are opportunities for you to like take what she says and run with it, right? Where you like like literally you could run away from her, right? And just say, I thought you were gonna catch me. I thought you want something like with the
right,
chase, right? I'm just saying
right.
like you could add the playfulness to make that interesting, right? Listening to her talk about how it's kind of boring to just sit across from somebody after you've talked to them. You if you can show that you can take a risk and do something kind of goofy or do something kind of playful in that moment, then you elevate the date. You take it away from this is a typical date, this is a boring date, this is a mundane date. To, oh, this is different. This is something that is a little bit different. Oh, now I am chasing him. Now I want to chase him. Oh, he's interesting. He thinks on his toes. He's not afraid to get up and ruffle feathers with me because he doesn't know how I'm going to react to this. Like that's where that bad boy energy comes from. It's from taking what she says and using it to kind of throw it back in her face a little bit, right? Be that teasing, playful guy. So that actually would have been a great opportunity to actually elevate the date and do something kind of fun.
Yeah. So what are some other tips maybe not to fall in that friend zone
Well,
unattractive?
don't be friendly. If you're going to be
Yeah.
friendly, you're going to get a friend at the end. If you're going to be flirty, you're going to get the other F on a date. You know, that's pretty much it. If you if you want a friendship, then be friendly to people. If you want a partnership or you want a relationship or you want casual sex, like do the things that are necessary to get those things.
You actually just blew my mind right now. You're completely correct about that. You are the energy you put out, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times where a lot of dates, I think, turn into job interviews.
Yes, exactly. And that they're boring as anything. Like nobody wants to be at a job interview. Especially nowadays, like job interviews are long, they're tedious, there's so many of them, they're boring, and it's like you've been there, done that, and you've repeated the same answers a million times. Like, who wants that? You want something different. You want somebody who makes you think. You want somebody who hits your primal brain and makes you actually like think about how you're going to respond so that you pay more attention. And that's where sparks get created from, is because when you create this tension, that's when fun things happen. Tension is amazing. So many guys go on dates and they want to avoid tension at all costs because they think being
Mm.
safer is what creates attraction when it's the complete opposite. And the thing is that bad boys get that, right? They naturally get it. They create tension. They disagree with the women that they're on dates with. They tease them, not knowing how she's going to take that tease. They say what they mean and say what they're thinking rather than holding their tongue just to be polite. Like those are the things that create tension. They spark people's primal brains. They create excitement and energy between two people. And that's what you want to be adding to your dates.
In having more experiences as opposed to, hey, we're going to sit at a coffee shop and just talk, or doing the interview style. And
Exactly.
I find too, and I want to get your opinion. Can you give too much information away too early? Like
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, that's
Yes.
one thing I
You
learned.
have
Yeah.
to mirror the other person. But even
Hmm.
even if you're both doing it, it can go to unhealthy places. Like you have to give me context if we're going to have that conversation of like what you're actually talking about, because there are certain people who can connect really fast, right? Because they're just like, oh, I'm going to tell you this about me and this about me and this about me, and they can gather a ton of information in 2 hours and feel really connected to that person and completely attracted to that person. But oversharing, from my opinion, is a no-no. You have to be very selective with who you share your information with. There's nothing wrong with sharing. Sharing, being vulnerable, being honest with women, like that can be very sexy, right? But oversharing and emotional dumping on women with a negative connotation, it is, I mean, to be honest, never acceptable, but just like not acceptable, especially in the first few dates. It's no good. You have to be very selective with who you give your information to.
Yeah. I was listening to one of your podcasts. I think it was top 10 things that make men sexy, something like that. It was like men cooking food.
Oh yeah.
Uh I thought the sleeves rolled up one was an interesting one.
It is. It's so sexy. I love it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like with women, things that are sexy like aren't, of course, like six pack abs and muscle. Like I'm sure they like that stuff too, but it doesn't seem to be the main driver. Whereas with men, it's like, oh my gosh, what's her
Yeah, of
physique?
course.
What's
Great
her
body, great ass, great boobs. Like those are very sexy things. It's interesting because I've been thinking about this a lot more lately because when I first started doing this stuff, I researched a lot of about the differences between men and women. And there was this book called Why Women Can't Read Maps and Men. What's the men one? I totally forget what the men one is. But one of the things that was in the book was talking about like how do you hide something from a man? You put it behind something else. Like they were basically saying men will open up the fridge and say, "Where's the ketchup? Where's the damn ketchup?" And the woman will go up and like move the milk and it's right behind the milk because a man will just look at what's right in front of him, right? Where a woman can see everything behind that milk, even without moving the milk. And that's how we interact with each other. Like men see big boobs, nice ass, pretty face, big smile. That's what's in front of them. Some of them don't even care about what's behind that look. Women can be drawn in to a look of really nice abs, great style, but they want to see what's behind and they want to figure out if what is behind is good for them. That's we're looking for everything behind the milk. And that's what we need to see in order to create real attraction.
so off the cuff, what are some other things that women typically find attractive in a man that we may not think about? Like we
Oh
like, oh,
God. Now you're putting me on the spot. Uh what are things? Oh my God, I love when men say, I got this. I got it.
ooh,
I got it. Or I got you. I love it. I think it's like one of the sexiest things in the entire world because it shows that you're a leader. It shows that you have strength. It shows that you're a caregiver. It makes me feel super feminine and small. I absolutely love it. I got this or I got you is absolutely amazing.
that's a good tip. And I actually feel as a male too, as I'm going to call it as we get more experienced, we the things that you once were attracted to, maybe it's still there, but you do find new qualities that like more of like someone's character that they show.
Yeah.
So like
And
what you're just,
yes.
you just become more, oh wow, like because she displayed this, I bet you she's does a really good job at her job, or I bet she would make a good mother. I
Yeah.
bet she's responsible.
Yeah.
Like those types of things, like
Yeah.
it's funny, like how
It's
that
exactly
works.
like what you said before. Like you get better at dating by dating. And when we're younger, I just feel like we don't know about the things that we want or need yet. And as we get more experience under our belt, we're like, well, that didn't work. So okay, let's try expanding this a little bit. And your wants start to grow, your needs start to grow. And I think as you get older, you're right that personality does matter a lot more. When you're younger, you just want like the coolest thing, the prettiest thing, and like the most uh jealousy worthy thing, I guess is the way to say it. Like you want what's kind of cool. Like I remember there were so many guys that I was with in high school where I was like, oh my God, that guy's amazing. He's so cool. And I liked how he looked around other people. He seemed fun. But then when we got together, it kind of sucked. I didn't enjoy him, but I liked it that I was with him and I would stick with it because I was with somebody that was deemed cool. Right. But I didn't actually really like
Mm.
that person. And then I continued dating. And then finally I found somebody that I was like, oh, I actually like this person. And they're cool as well. Like you just like feel like you graduate to different levels.
You just reminded me of what Dr. David Buss talks. He talks a lot about status.
Yeah,
How,
status for
how
sure.
how important is status to women
It's very
overall?
important. It's very important. It's
So
extremely important. Yes. I forget exactly what the pillars were that David Buss talks about, but it's like intelligence, access to resources, status. I forget what the other ones were. I actually have to look that up afterwards. But like Status is very important, but status doesn't mean what many people think it means. It really just means like how they are perceived by others. Like so they can be like pillars in their community. They don't have to be the CEO of a company and making $5 million. They can be like a strong person in the community that everybody knows. Like Mike, who lives 4 doors down from me. He he's done well for himself, but he is like a pillar of in the community. He is known by everybody. He is a schmoozer and talks to like everywhere he goes, everybody knows who he is. That's status. Even a guy, if you're younger, if you walk into a bar with a woman and the bartender knows you and the doorman knows you, that's status as well. It's not necessarily about like how much money you have there. It's about how well you're liked, how you're seen by other people. Like that is status.
Yeah, and it reminds me when I hear the stories of, coworkers at the same company, they end up getting married, or probably a lot of it's that, someone does a really good job at their job.
Yeah.
They're your peer and you're seeing them getting recognition and they're at the same company and they're a person people looks up to. So naturally you're just going to gravitate toward that, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing somebody in their element, like that's super attractive, especially a man. Oh my God, a man who's a leader at work. Like I understand why tons of work relationships happen, especially from like lower level people to higher level people. They see them as authority figures, as leaders, as like, I even remember when I was 16 years old and I had a huge crush on my color war captain at camp because when he got into the position of being color war, he was sincere, he was authentic, he was a leader, he was kind to everybody. I was like, oh my God, he's so amazing. Like somebody who I would have never noticed before when he got into that role of being a leader, I was like, oh my God, he is so attractive. I just like had the biggest crush on him forever when I was 16 years old.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Sam Dever podcast. I hope you're enjoying the show. I just wanted to take a quick minute to tell you about my new project called Produce Your Passion. Produce Your Passion is a creative platform for people to overcome obstacles and bring their visions to life and become their most authentic selves. We have a brand new website. It's produceyourpassion.com, and there you will find coaching services. You will find another podcast called Produce Your Passion. I wrote a book. You can download it for free, or you can get it on Amazon. We have an online store where you can get Produce Your Passion gear and a whole lot more. Check it out, produceyourpassion.com. Now, back to the podcast. Your opinion, so what would be, you in your experience, what is the number one factor that you've seen? Is it be able to take care of someone's financial resources, status, looks? For the majority of maybe women you've worked with, have you noticed like the one thing that, or one or two that they tend to gravitate toward the most in a man?
It's really how the man sees himself and like what he exudes, right? And that's like a big umbrella statement for kind of everything. That's like status, intelligence, leadership. That's like everything kind of coming into one. That's what I feel like women are drawn to. It's like how the man views himself. If he views himself as high status, if he views himself as comfortable in his own skin, as he views himself as I can say anything that I want, if he views himself as I can get any woman that I want, like those things are very attractive. It's kind of men who don't give a shit. That's actually the better way to say it. That's what we find attractive. And that's actually what I found very attractive in my husband when I first met him. I worked in finance a million years ago. I was around tons of powerful men, rich men, like aggressive, assertive, alpha type men. And I never found any of them appealing because I saw them all as being really insecure. There was a couple that were in that mix. But when I met my husband and he was just like, he was so comfortable in who he was. He knew his value. He said what he wanted to say. He didn't care about ruffling feathers. He teased me. I loved all of it. And he was just this man who was kind, who I felt comfortable around, who was considerate, who would respond to my phone calls and call when he said he was going to, like, I found all of those things very, I'd never seen that in a man before. And I had been around a lot of men for my entire life, and I had never seen all of those things mixed into one. And I found it very attractive.
You're making me think further on it because I feel it has to do with confidence, but I feel that whole comfortable in your own skin's like its own category. Like
It is. I mean,
it's
confidence is a
different.
part of comfortable in your own skin. To be comfortable in your own skin, you have to be confident.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know what you mean. Wow, that's really interesting. And I wanted to touch on you were on I was listening to one of your podcasts. Two things. The age, how a lot of older men date younger women and vice versa. The younger men want older women. Could you talk a little bit about that psychology behind that? Like why aside maybe from
Because these men have their shit together.
okay.
So even I was listening to oh my god, what is his name? From now I even forget that this is perimenopause. I'm just telling you, like where you forget things on the fly. It's insane. But oh my god, what is his name? Who I absolutely loved, who is on Pivot, the podcast, who talks about like how men are in this horrible position right now. What the
Scott
heck?
Galloway.
Yes, Scott Galloway. And now I forget what I was going to bring his topic. Okay, but he was talking about how I forget exactly what the statistics are, but how he was saying women and men who are like in their late 20s and early 30s, they're in very different positions in their lives right now. He was saying, I think I'm going to totally misquote this, like 60% of women who are 28, between 28 and 34 or something like that, are in a relationship. And for men in that same category, like 20% of them are in relationships. And he was saying, like, how does this correlate? How is this happening? It's because these women are dating older men. They're going into relationships with older men, and they like these older men because they have their shit together. They know who they are, they know where they're going, they're driven, they're more respectful, they understand women, they're better communicators. Like there is this huge advantage to being an older man, because when you become older, as we just said before, you become more experienced, you become comfortable in your own skin. You're not focusing on these frivolous things, labeled by some women as frivolous. I'm not calling them frivolous, but you take your life more seriously, and women are very drawn to that. Very, very drawn to that. Whether you're 25 going after a 35-year-old, or sometimes even when you're a 45-year-old and dating a 60-year-old, like that, it's just more appealing to be with somebody who seems more knowledgeable and more advanced. I'm not saying that women like people who like to act old. We do not want that. It's not because people are older, it's because of the qualities that you gain as you become older. If you're still like a bump on a log when you're 60 and really negative, that's not going to be the driving factor to, oh, I like him because he's older. The driving factor is still this person who can be youthful but has all of these other skills that as a younger woman you don't have yet. What women like to be with leaders. They like to follow men. We are reactionary, and we like to be around somebody who has a purpose, knows where he's going, whether it's like, I'm going to this great restaurant that I just found, or I'm going to become the president of the United States, whatever it is. We want to support and follow a man like that. And because then that puts us at a different status level.
I really like how you break that down because it's like yes, the money is usually a byproduct of a guy who has his stuff together.
Yeah.
He has a stuff, and I think there's a line there because some guys think like, oh, I'm just going to make a bunch of money and I'm going to get a bunch of girls. Well, if that's all you concentrate on and you don't develop yourself, you don't have any good communication skills, there's no intellect, there's a certain probably class of women that you're probably going to get
Yeah,
for a
definitely.
specific reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I
And that's
think,
okay. That's totally
sure, if
okay.
that's what you
That's
want.
the thing. Yeah, if that's what you want and that's what they want, then have at it. Have a great time. I agree with you.
Yeah. So, but it does make me think like this whole conversation getting back to this comfortable in your own skin, just for men, like to really just like, man, get to know yourself, become the best version of you for both men and women. I think there's just
Yeah.
so much power in that.
Right. And that's also becomes really frustrating for a lot of people because people are like, I am just being myself and I am comfortable in my skin. So, but there is a bigger process to getting to know yourself. And that's really thinking through how you think about things, why you think the way that you do. Okay. So, for example, in many of my programs, the first section that is in most of my programs is two workbooks. There's one that's about, I forget, it's called Discovering Your Values, and the other one is called Discovering Who You Are. I totally forget what the workbooks are called. But one of them is really figuring out, what do you value? Because most people don't even know what their values are, right? But like, as you get to know yourself better through these workbooks and exercises, and there's many other tools for finding out these things, but for me, I find that these are really helpful for people to bring out what they really value and discovering who they are in that moment of time. And as soon as you discover these things, you gain more confidence because you're more aware of the things that you bring to the table. Most people walk around not knowing anything about themselves. If anything, they go around with this voice saying how crappy they are. So bringing the things that are amazing about you to light and having them be available to you because you've written them down, you've thought them through, you've really understood the why behind just being yourself and the why behind why you're a good option. It elevates you and puts you closer to that category of being comfortable in your own skin because you start to know your value and you're very aware of the things that you have to offer.
I love that. I think someone told me once they called it a congruent value system. Like just, but you're exactly right. You have to know what those values are. You have to do that work.
Yeah,
You have
it
to
is
do that
work.
work.
It is work. And it's work that most people do not want to do. But as soon as they do it, they're like, oh, I am pretty amazing. Oh, there are 20 great things about me that I wasn't even aware of. And I think, walking around day to day, not being aware of those things, and most often replacing those things with really negative thoughts, like doesn't put you in a position to be exuding any great energy to the people that you interact with.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Marnie, as we get to the home stretch here, I do have a couple more questions. I
Yeah.
definitely want to get to where people, how they can work with you and everything like that. What what's your take on the future of dating, relationships? Uh, as we know, technology it comes in and out.
I have a very okay, so I'm actually okay with AI being a part of the new relationship space. I'm into it.
Please explain.
I think there are so many lonely people out there. And if you can have something in your life, real or not real, that makes you feel really good, I mean, why would you not want that? Whether it's real or not real. So, so that you can be a part of the world. Like what is, if like being a part of the world and you're lonely and you don't have a partner, you're miserable, you think negative things, you hurt people, you become bitter, like how is that beneficial for you? So if you can have and fall in love with something that is not real to others but very real to you, isn't that wonderful?
Have you seen the movie Her with Joaquin
Yeah.
Phoenix? Do you
Yes.
remember 10 years ago where like we saw that? Oh, that was a brilliant concept, but
Yeah.
oh, that was so
Now you're like,
far-fetched.
that's what's happening to my neighbor.
You can
Right.
literally do that now, like what he
Yeah.
was doing with that, and mix robotics into that in the
Yeah.
next 5, 10 years, and people are literally going to have robotic partners.
But what is the downside? Lower population? We have too many freaking people anyway. Get rid of them. Like what is I don't understand the downside. I know Scott Galloway, like I've heard him talk about this as well. Like he's very against that. He wants people like off of devices. And so do I. I want everybody off of a device. But if and the reason I'm saying this is because I know and I see many men who are extremely lonely and who, even with all of the work that I can do with them, are never going to get there just simply because they do not have the ability, or they have severe trauma that's happened in their life that they cannot get to the place that I would train them to get to. And if they were to happen to bring AI into their lives and be so happy, I would be so happy for them. I'm not saying that this is for every person out there, but I'm saying that for many people who, no matter what work they do, they are just never going to get there with a woman, with a partner. It's just it just is not going to happen. I think AI isn't an excellent choice.
You actually uncovered a pretty deep philosophical talking point because you're right. I mean, it goes back to that saying, right? If you're not harming anyone else, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Type
And
of
if you're
thing.
you're so happy and then you can spread happiness because you're happy instead of bitter and angry, isn't that a better place to be? I'm not saying it's for everybody. I'm not saying everybody should do this simply because it's easier. But I don't know. I don't see the problem with it yet. I don't see the actual problem with it.
I think it's good we threw the yet in there. Like
Yeah. Yes, I'm
yeah, no.
sure there will be a problem for many people down the road. I don't know. I've been like toying with all of these things recently where, thinking about, I don't know. I like just uh, what what is acceptable for somebody. It doesn't have to be acceptable for somebody else. Like I remember when at my shower for my wedding, or bridal shower. Is that what it's called? A shower? Yes. I remember one of my husband's friends. My husband's 10 years older than me. So one of my husband's friends, who's a woman, was talking about one of his other friends who is the same age as my husband. And he had just started dating somebody who was like 6 years younger than me. And she was like just disgusted by it. She thought something was psychologically wrong with this friend of my husband's. And I was like, "But he's happy." And he's married to that woman now, but she just was like, it just because it made her uncomfortable because it wasn't the norm. She kept thinking that something was wrong with him, and there was, like, something wrong with the 2 of them dating, right? And luckily, that didn't impact how he was, because he would have then missed out on being with his wife. I just think, like, we can't really let people's perceptions of what we think is supposed to happen affect what we know feels good.
Hmm. It's amazing how many people, quote unquote, care or like to share their opinion of other people's relationships.
Yeah, and I don't know
Is it?
why it impacts them. Like, what makes like, it makes them uncomfortable because what it does is it has you, like, reflecting on your relationship.
Yeah.
You have to look at yourself differently. Just like we were talking about social media before, like, it just makes you look into yourself and question things. Oh, why aren't I with somebody who's 12 years older? Like, or why aren't I with somebody who's 12 years young? I don't know how that was impacting her or what it was doing to her security levels, but it was doing something that didn't feel good for her.
I think people too, they like to see people and reaffirm their decisions by getting other people to make the same decisions they did. So
Yeah,
if
for
they
sure.
dated for 2 years and got married and had kids right away, they go, "Oh, you've been dating for 2 years. It's time to where's the
Yeah.
ring?"
When you having babies,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's exactly it.
It's like, yeah, just live your life, So no, that's great. Well, I have one last question before I
Okay.
want to pass it off to you. I have to ask. You worked with Neil Strauss back in the day,
Yeah.
and mystery. Did you ever float in those camps with those
Yeah.
guys? I used to watch. There was a reality show back
Oh, the
then,
pickup
so
artist?
the pickup artist. So I just does that. Can you just talk a little bit about that era? A little bit about because this that was
It
like
was
pre
so interesting. I
right.
remember so remember that singles mixer I told you about
Yeah,
where
yeah,
I started
yeah,
my business? I
yeah.
went back there 3 weeks later or something, like a month later, and it's like this small Shabbat dinner, Friday night dinner at a rabbi's house, and just random people come. He hosts it every Friday. And I was sitting there with my friend Nina, and I was talking about how, oh, last time I was here, I started this business and it's been really cool. We were in the LA Times and we were on the Kevin and Bean show. Anyway, talking about all this stuff. And then this guy at the end of the table slides his business card down the table and says, "We have to talk." So I was like, okay. So after dinner, I was talking to him, and it was Ross Jeffries, who is the godfather of the pickup artist community, like the first pickup artist guy who had run a lair. And he started talking about, oh, Neil's gonna eat you up, and like David's gonna love you, and this and this and this, and oh, you're gonna love mystery. And I was like, what the hell is this like crazy guy talking about? I have no idea what he's talking about. But all I kept thinking was, oh, I'm gonna get customers from this. This is great. Like, he'll introduce me to people. And I had no idea what the pickup artist world was. No clue. about it. And he introduced me to this world of all of these people. And then I became a part of this world of all of these people. I got introduced to Eben Pagan, who was David D'Angelo, and I met him at Broadway Deli in Santa Monica. I didn't even really know who he was or understand what this community was at this point. And I pitched him the idea of speaking at one of his conferences. And I had to do a PowerPoint presentation from him. And then he gave me his approval. And I went to this pickup artist conference. It was 3 days long. And just watching all of these people get up on stage and motivate these men with things I liked, things I didn't like. It was just so fascinating to me. The world was weird and it was interesting and it was like not the norm, which is kind of the category that I fall into, which I really, really like. And I was like the cool girl there because I was the only girl there, which I liked as well, being in a room full of men. But I remember meeting Mystery for the first time there, and he ran his whole routine on me because I didn't know about all of these routines, these pickup routines, and it worked on me. And I was like, oh, this is really cool how he does this because he's not even really that good looking, but like I'm totally attracted to him. It was fascinating to be in that world. So it was a really interesting time. But the most interesting thing that I started to notice about that world was there were these men who would get up on stage and they would preach things to these guys and they would pump up these guys. Some of them were angry, some of them were really great and kind, some of them were really cool. And like 9 out of 10 of them couldn't make eye contact with me when they got off the stage. Like couldn't have a conversation with me. And I found that extremely fascinating. Like when they were in their element, they could do really well. But they 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 weren't at that level of comfort with themselves. They had routines that could work when they were in the moment, but they weren't really at the point yet of being really comfortable in their own skin and able to talk to anybody. Even if they weren't attracted to them or even if they were attracted to them, they there was still an act going on. They weren't yet at that position where they're like, "Oh, I've rocked this and now I'm good. I know how to just be me and attract people."
Almost like they were playing a character to a
Yeah,
certain extent.
it
Interesting.
was. Yeah, it was very interesting. Like I remember Brad P and Christian Hudson, both of them could talk to me, no problem. And I loved it. I loved how they carried themselves. If anything, I was intimidated by them. But the other ones could not make eye contact with me. And like it was just very interesting. It was a very interesting time and a very interesting world to pop into that I loved. It was a really fun time. I loved speaking to those men. Listen, I like men. I like men giving me attention, and it was the best space for me to be in because tons of men wanted to hear what I had to say and gave me tons of attention, made me feel good. I loved it.
And the rest is history, right?
The rest is history. Exactly.
Well, no, I appreciate you sharing that. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we get out of here?
No, not at all. I think we had a really great
Yeah,
conversation. I shared what I
yeah,
wanted to. Yeah.
yeah. This is really fun, and no, again, you've got me thinking. I really there's a lot of good core subjects to think about in just human
Oh, amazing.
psychology and dating. I really
Amazing.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I
So
haven't done an interview in many months, so thanks for getting me back into the world of this and getting my brain working again.
getting the motor running. So if people want to find your work, they want to work with you, check out everything you do. Where
Yep.
should people go to look you up?
They should go to fwithher.com and check out my website. And I think it's a page that gives you a free gift. See, I'm so unpracticed with this, but I think actually, let me just check what is on there. I will tell you. fwithher.com. Now I forget what it is, but I think it's a free mini course. Okay, yes, it is. The 5 things you actually need to attract any woman. It's a free mini course that I made with Alpha M, Aaron Marino from YouTube. And if people go to this page, they can get free access to this mini course where I show them the 5 things you actually need to attract any woman.
That sounds like some good stuff right
Yeah.
there. Awesome. Well, Marni, thank you so much for taking the time. One last question, if you have a few minutes, that just popped
Yeah.
in my head. I don't know if you were dealing with this back before like the internet exploded, but the whole red pill community
Yeah.
that's out there. Do you have a take on that? Do you think some things are good, some things are not good, or do you have any take
I
on
think
what
by
that's done?
definition, if that's even the way to say it, that it was a great community. But by practice, it's horrendous. So I remember like 10, maybe even 12 years ago, one of the head people from MGTOW, which was men going their own way, I did an interview with him and I looked up what MGTOW was before I went onto this MGTOW podcast. And it was men going their own way. And I was like, this sounds great. Men are just doing their own thing. They're not bothered by women. They're taking a break for women. It sounds fabulous. And then I got onto his podcast. I was like, oh, you hate women. You are angry at women and wanted to just tear women down. I was like, this is not men going their own way. This is men who have been rejected and literally wish women were dead. So, I mean, my take is that I felt really sad for the people in that
Mm.
community. I feel really sad for men who have had experiences where women have been really crappy to them. It's awful. I've been really crappy to men. I think about it all the time. There's one guy named Jody Hart who asked me out at camp, and I said, "Won't your boyfriend be mad?" And because I was so uncomfortable with him asking me out in front of everybody, and I was just a snarky little sarcastic girl back then who wanted to cover up my own discomfort, and I poked fun of him in front of his friends. Like, that's totally emasculating. And that is horrendous. I scarred him for life, most likely. I remember seeing him like 10 years later and I apologized to him for it. But like, there are so many experiences that men have endured. I understand how they can get to that point of anger and bitterness. Things are not going the way that they want with women, and they don't have this experience of great encounters with women like they perceive other men to have. So I feel really bad and sad for that community. And they don't have great mentors within that community. They have other men whose anger they can feed off of and who can allow the resentment to build up and put really negative ideas into their heads about women being horrible and that all women are horrible. And not all women are horrible. Some women are horrible and some women do really crappy things at certain points in their lives to certain people. Not everybody is awful. And I think like, yeah, I feel really sad for them.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. I was just curious, just because that comes up a lot on podcasts and social
Yeah.
media, and just I appreciate you sharing that perspective. So, Marnie, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this
Yeah,
conversation.
me
I
too.
appreciate you taking the time. Stick around for a sec after I stop the
Okay.
recording, but I always on this podcast, I always like to end it. The guest gets the last word. It can be as short or as long as you want, as deep or as shallow as you want. It can be a joke. However you want to end it. How would you like to end this podcast?
Men should pay for dates. I don't know. I was just joking. But like, yes, it was actually a thing that was in one of my videos today because it was I did a shoot this morning about, things that women hate to hear on dates. And it was like, okay, so we're splitting the bill. Like it's even true like with women who are really young who are very into being equal. Like no matter what, there is something caveman like about attraction. Like even in girl power stage equality, there is still something about a man paying for a date. And I've asked 20-year-olds this question. I've asked 30-year-olds this question. I've asked 50. Like we still want the man to pay for a date. We do. There are exceptions to the rule, obviously. Like many people will split it, but I think it's still really important. It doesn't have to be an expensive date, but it has to be done.
Are you talking initial stages or once you're multiple years in?
Not once you're multiple years in the initial stages for sure. In the initial stages for sure. And the thing is that then, once you start dating, you have to go off of what people are capable of affording, right? And if like when I met my husband, I wasn't making very much money and he was making a lot more money than me. So he did pay for the majority of things, but I gave back in the way that I can. I was reciprocal in a way that I could. I would make him dinners. I would do things for him. Oh my God, I think I got his car cleaned one day. Like I did things to show back that I wanted to participate in this relationship as well. And he happened to have access to more resources than I had.
It's a give and take, right? Like
Yeah.
you both got to make effort. Marni,
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
wonderful. Website one more time.
fwithher.com, and you get the 5, oh good God, what was it again? Anyway, you get five important things that create attraction in women. You get access to a free mini course that teaches you the 5 things that women need to get from you and see in order to feel attraction.
Awesome. Well, Marni, I can't wait. Everyone go check out that website. Marni, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the Sam Dever podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thesamdeverpodcast, and give us a follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. See you soon.